So I'm going to go into Chrome. I'll refresh once more just to make sure that it's pulling in the external CSS file. And I'm going to click Sources down here in the Developer Tools. So Google calls this whole area Dev Tools, and we're going to use it extensively throughout this series. And you can open it up at any time by right-clicking an element and selecting Inspect Element, or you can go up to View, Developer, and Developer Tools. If you have a bigger screen, you can also separate this out from the main window by clicking this button, and this will give you some additional real estate to work with. Because we're working on a smaller screen right now, I'm going to dock it to the main window. So once your Sources tab is selected, what it's showing us are the files that we're downloading from the web server. At this point, our web server is just our computer, but it's still going to work the same way. And what we're going to do is map the file that we're downloading to a local file so that Chrome will load the local file instead of the remote file. So the way we can do that is by first adding a folder to this workspace. And so you can right-click in this area and select Add Folder to Workspace. It'll open up a dialog where you can select a folder. So I'm going to navigate to where I have my index.html, styles, and our images, and I'm going to select this folder. It gives you a warning to let you know that it's going to have to access local files, which is normally something a browser doesn't do, so it has to warn us. We'll click Allow, and now we see that folder down here under Sources. Once it's added, then we can map the remote file to our local file. Now again, they're both the same thing for us, but this would work the same way even if our site was hosted with an actual host. So we'll right-click the file, and we'll select Map to File System Resource, and this will open up a dialog that will automatically do a search for any folders that we've added this way, and it will try to find files that have the same name as the remote file. Now ultimately, our local file doesn't have to have the same name, we can still map them to each other. But in this case, they have the same name and we can see this result right here. This box right up here is just a search. We can remove it in order to show all of the items in our folders. But this is the one that we ultimately want. So I'll click this. And it says it needs to restart, so I'll hit OK. Over here on the left-hand side, we only see one folder now. This is because Chrome automatically sensed that we're using the same file scheme locally as we are on our remote site, and it linked up all of the different files. So here's what this means. Now we can click on styles.css, and it will open up the file here. And let's say we want to change some of the CSS. Let's remove this text transform since it's obvious when we do. So I'm going to select it and cut it. And you see immediately that it changes the CSS in the browser. We also see a little asterisk here that says that this file hasn't been saved. If I hit Ctrl S, it will save it, the asterisk goes away, and if we refresh the page, we can see that the changes to our CSS file persist. So we want that text transform back, so I'm going to undo with Ctrl Z and save it, and now we're back to where we were. So this is particularly nice for CSS, because we get the live feedback, and we don't have to copy styles from the browser back to our source file. Now we can also edit our index.html file. So I'm going to change the title here, and you can see the title up here. I'll just add some text, new, but you're not going to see a live refresh. So even if we save it, we're not going to see the changes. But if we refresh the page, we'll now see the HTML get updated. So from this point forward, we'll do some of our editing in Chrome, and we'll do some of it in our IDE. The IDE still gives us some advantages, but it is pretty cool that you can do everything inside of Chrome without even a text editor or an IDE.